Evelyn Boyd Granville, African-American mathematician, born 1924, still alive today as of April 2nd, 2022. Evelyn Boyd Granville earned her doctorate from Yale University in 1949. In that year, she and Marjorie Lee Brown at the University of Michigan became the first African-American women to receive doctoral degrees in mathematics. It would be more than a dozen years before another black woman would earn a PhD in the field. Granville's career has included stints as an educator and involvement with the American space program during its formative years. Granville was born in Washington, D.C. on May 1, 1924. Her father, William Boyd, worked as a custodian in their apartment building. He did not stay with the family, however, and Granville was raised by her mother, Julia Walker Boyd, and her mother's twin sister, Louise Walker, both of whom worked as examiners for the U.S. Bureau of Engraving and Printing. Granville and her sister Doris, who was a year and a half older, often spent portions of their summers at the farm of a family friend in Linden, Virginia. The public schools of Washington, D.C. were racially segregated when Granville attended them. However, Dunbar High School, from which she graduated as valedictorian, maintained high academic standards. Several of its faculty held degrees from top colleges, and they encouraged the students to pursue ambitious goals. Granville's mathematics teachers included Ulysses Bassett, a Yale graduate, and Mary Cromwell, a University of Pennsylvania graduate. Cromwell's sister, who held a doctorate from Yale, taught in Dunbar's English department. With the encouragement of her family and teachers, Granville entered Smith College with a small partial scholarship from Phi Delta Kappa, a national sorority for black women. After her freshman year, she lived in a cooperative house at Smith, sharing chores rather than paying more expensive dormitory rates. During the summers, she returned to Washington to work at the National Bureau of Standards. Granville majored in mathematics and physics, but was also fascinated by astronomy after taking a class from Marjorie Williams. She considered becoming an astronomer, but chose not to commit herself to living in the isolation of a major observatory, which was necessary for astronomers of that time. Though she had entered college intending to become a teacher, she began to consider industrial work in physics and mathematics. She graduated summa cum laude in 1945 and was elected to Phi Beta Kappa. With help from a Smith College fellowship, Granville began graduate studies at Yale University, for which she also received financial assistance. She earned a M.A. in mathematics and physics in 1 year and began working toward a doctorate at Yale. For the next 2 years, she received a Julius Rosenwald Fellowship, which was awarded to help promising black Americans develop their research potential. The following year, she received an Atomic Energy Commission pre-doctoral fellowship. Granville's doctoral work concentrated on functional analysis, and her dissertation was titled On Laguerre Series in the Complex Domain. Her advisor, Einar Hill, was a former president of the American Mathematical Society. Upon receiving her PhD in mathematics in 1949, Granville was elected to the Scientific Honorary Society Sigma Xi. Granville then undertook a year of postdoctoral research at New York University's Institute of Mathematics and Science. Apparently, because of housing discrimination, she was unable to find an apartment in New York, so she moved in with a friend of her mother. Despite attending segregated schools, Granville had not encountered discrimination based on race or gender in her professional preparation. Years later, she would learn that her 1950 application for a teaching position at a college in New York City was turned down for such a reason. A female adjunct faculty member eventually told biographer Patricia Kenshaft that the application was rejected because of Granville's race. However, a male mathematician reported that despite the faculty's support of the application, the dean rejected it because Granville was a woman. In 1950, Granville accepted the position of associate professor at Fisk University, a noted black college in Nashville, Tennessee. She was a popular teacher, and at least 2 of her female students credited her with inspiring them to earn doctorates in mathematics in later years. After 2 years of teaching, Granville went to work for the Diamond Ordnance Fuse Laboratories as an applied mathematician, a position she held for 4 years. From 1956 to 1960, she worked for IBM on the Project Vanguard and Project Mercury space programs, analyzing orbits and developing computer procedures. Her job included making, quote, real-time calculations during satellite launchings. Quote, that was exciting. As I look back, to be a part of the space programs, a very small part at the beginning of U.S. involvement, unquote. Granville told contributor Loretta Hall in a 1994 interview. On a summer vacation to Southern California, Granville met the Reverend Gamaliel Mansfield Collins, a minister in the community church. They were married in 1960 and made their home in Los Angeles. They had no children, although Collins' 3 children occasionally lived with them. In 1967, the marriage ended in divorce. Upon moving to Los Angeles, Granville had taken a job at the Computation and Data Reduction Center of the U.S. Space Technology Laboratories, studying rocket trajectories and methods of orbit computation. In 1962, she became a research specialist at the North American Aviation Space and Information Systems Division, working on celestial mechanics, trajectory and orbit computation, numerical analysis, and digital computer techniques for the Apollo program. The following year, she returned to IBM as a senior mathematician. Because of restructuring at IBM, numerous employees were transferred out of the Los Angeles area in 1967. Granville wanted to stay, however, so she applied for a teaching position at California State University in Los Angeles. She happily re-entered the teaching profession, which she found enjoyable and rewarding. She was disappointed in the mathematics preparedness of her students, however, and she began working to improve mathematics education at all levels. She taught an elementary school supplemental mathematics program in 1968 and 1969 through the State of California Miller Mathematics Improvement Program. The following year, she directed a mathematics enrichment program that provided after-school classes for kindergarten through 5th grade students, and she taught grades 2 through 5 herself. She was an educator at the National Science Foundation Institute for Secondary Teachers of Mathematics summer program at the University of Southern California in 1972. Along with colleague Jason Franz, Granville wrote Theory and Application of Mathematics for Teachers in 1975. A second edition was published in 1978, and the textbook was used at over 50 colleges. In 1970, Granville married Edward V. Granville, a real estate broker. After her 1984 retirement from California State University in Los Angeles, they moved to a 16-acre farm in Texas, where they sold eggs produced by their 800 chickens. From 1985 to 1988, Granville taught mathematics and computer science at Texas College in Tyler. In 1990, she accepted an appointment to the Sam A. Lindsay Chair at the University of Texas at Tyler, and in subsequent years continued teaching there as a visiting professor. Smith College awarded Granville an honorary doctorate in 1989, making her the first black woman mathematician to receive such an honor from an American institution. Throughout her career, Granville shared her energy with a variety of professional and service organizations and boards, many of them including the National Council of Teachers of Mathematics and the American Association of University Women, focused on education in mathematics. Others, such as the U.S. Civil Service Panel of Examiners of the Department of Commerce and the Psychology Examining Committee of the Board of Medical Examiners of the State of California, reflected broader civic interests. When asked to summarize her major accomplishments, Granville told Hall, quote, "First of all, showing that women can do mathematics," unquote. Then she added, quote, "being an African-American woman, letting people know that we have brains too," unquote. Citations are in the description.